Excellent. So that gives me a good snapshot. I started my coaching career at Spectre's under-12 girls, so I was on the bench for, I think you had Tom Murray in here a few weeks ago. So Tom was coaching the WNBL team, which I was a young benchy for, playing for Spectre's under-18, and I was head coaching in those Spectre's under-12. So I've lived your life for a bit of time. And my background, obviously, I've got a degree in phys ed. I've never actually taught at a high school. I've been fortunate enough to be a professional coach my whole career. So other than selling hot dogs at Knox Tavern, planting plants up in the nurseries in the hills, my job has been to coach basketball. So pretty lucky. And you guys do a lot of the groundwork, the hard yards with kids. So I'll refer a little bit to this and then I'll hand this around. So I just want to chat a little bit about, firstly, our beliefs about coaching athletes, coaching kids, coaching gender. If I was to say to you what colour, well, I had a little slide video show coaching female athletes, what colour might I put female in? What colour? So if I wrote it up on coaching female athletes, what colour might I put female in?
Pink.
Bingo. Like that our natural, pink stereotypes and our bias that pink is for girls and blue is for boys. My firm belief is one of the biggest things is we put limiting beliefs, our own beliefs and our gender beliefs that we've grown up with, on our young female athletes or on girls playing sport in general. I think it's changing, but I think it's our job as coaches of girls and women to take a ceiling off the way we talk to them when we coach them, and the expectations that we have of female athletes. And I think critically it's about talking to our young people and our young athletes, and I'll say athletes because it's the terminology I'm used to, is talking to them like basketball players. This is the expectation that we have at basketball, not whether you're a girl or a boy, and not whether we assume or our conditioning says you can run faster, jump higher, or you can or can't dunk. So I think that's a big thing for us to grasp first as coaches of women and girls, is treat them like athletes. Who here's got daughters? Anyone got daughters? Wonderful. Who's got just sons? Who doesn't have kids yet? Yep. Okay, great. And we've got a wonderful mix, of men. I mean, there's a few girls, a few women here, which is great, but it's my firm belief that we want men and women coaching our boys and our girls, and we want men and women coaching our women and our men. We live in a society that's 50-50-ish. The balance is what we need in life. So first and foremost is how we treat our athletes as athletes and our kids as kids in sport. Who can tell me what are some of the differences in how you think we might coach? Let's say you've got the under-12 boys and the under-12 girls. Right? If we were watching an under-12 boys practice and an under-12 girls practice, and if we were watching a WNBL team and an NBL team at the start of practice, what would be a stark difference in when you walked into practice, what might be happening? Any ideas? Let's say we walk in here before the Rangers WNBL women's team are playing, or before they're practicing. What might you see? And if you'd walked into the Siebel men's practice or before the game when everyone sort of rocks up, what might you see? I'll tell you what I've seen. And it's not right or wrong, but it gives us a snapshot too into some of the things that we can do when we're working with our athletes. So guaranteed, and Mike would have experienced this, every time you walk into the start of a WML practice, often the coach is there first, but if you come in, come out, the girls are sitting around talking. In little clusters over here, they might be stretching their energy. How's your day? How's your day? You walk into a boys' practice, they're playing horse, they're trying to dunk it, they're out actively doing games. But the girls are sitting chatting. And that, not a good thing or a bad thing, but understanding that there are differences in how we socialise and why we play sport. So as coaches, it's important to understand that and then also work with that. So what does it mean? So do we say to the girls, do we force the girls to go, right, none of that chit chat, stop talking, let's get out, we're going to play a competitive game before practice starts? Do you think there'd be value in it? Why not?
Because we've got to get that out of their system.
Yeah. Yeah.
16 under 14 girls are probably more likely to chit-chat on the baseline when you're actually trying to learn.
So knowing that that's, it's similar at barbecues, isn't it? Generally, guys are out there having a beer, cooking the meat, and the ladies are in preparing the salads and doing all that. It's not right or wrong, it's kind of how we are. And me, I kind of float between the two, but it's important to understand that, and then work with that to our advantage. So to not take that away, because I know a lot of with young female athletes, there comes an age where they then go, I don't want to play sports anymore. So how can we keep them playing there? So if we make it all structured and all rules and no talking and no chatting and no socialising, well, of course they're going to go and socialise and do something else. So it's important to understand that when we're actively then coaching them. Yeah, you made a good point. And jump in any time if you have a question or you want to make a comment.
Do you think, in my experience coaching, because I coach both, that girls grasp the team concept better than boys do? In that they're more teamy when you're around basketball. When you're not around the basketball, it's not.
They're more bitchy.
Well, I want
true. I can say I'm a girl, you can't say you're a boy.
where boys, it's more about them and
their egos.
Well, their athleticism, it's the showing of the strength or where girls don't seem to have, not in my experience anyway, there's a few that will exhibit that type of motion, but mostly I think you can get them. The team concept is a bit better with them.
Yeah, I'd agree, Mike, and I think there's, I think that it's silly to say, the genders, let's have them all the same. Well, we're not built the same, we don't look the same, we don't act the same. But there's some things that we've laid gender labels on that we can remove and then work with. I absolutely agree. I think part of that socialisation of girls being really interactive and the caring and the let's have everyone working together, I think that's driven from there, that mothering, mother hen nature. Agreed, I think some of our best elite women, the really competitive ones, have that, what we label it, the gender, she plays like a man. Well, wrong. We don't she doesn't play like a man, she plays like a basketballer. But our bias still goes to, those are the ones that are really assertive, the girls, she's a tomboy, she plays like a man. Oh, no, she actually plays like a strong woman. That little girls can be directive and assertive, and that's not bossy or bitchy, because they're exhibiting behaviour that it's sport behaviour that we want. But you think of how often you tell them, stop being bossy, stop being a little bitch, you're bossing people around. But if a young boy does that, he's a strong leader. So it's really important that the language we start to have with athletes and the attributes that we want them to show, their character attributes, their behavioural attributes, their team attributes are, this is how we want our basketball players to be. And understand that some will naturally and some won't naturally, but if we can set the tone that this is what we do. And similarly with the boys. Guys, this is how we want to behave as great teammates. This is what we do. It is about everyone on the floor, not just you and your one-on-one skills. You need them to operate. You need them to be able to get you open. They need to get the ball to you, etc., etc. So I agree. There's these differences, and is it nature or nurture? Is it the way we've conditioned our young boys and young girls that we gravitate to those things? Is there an inherent part of us that comes with our gender that says this is how we go? So I think we can find the middle ground in both, but really try and remove those. Don't be bossy. That's she's being a great leader. She's being a great leader, and they're some of the things that we can impart to team. So.
Sorry. I actually made a comment the other day, and we'll talk down there that when you get the biggest challenge, I reckon, with that point with girls is that it's not so much we're trying to stop them from being bossy. The other girls in the team have that perception that they're a bitch.
Yeah.
Because they are being assertive and they are being direct, and so she's being a bitch and she's picking off.
I think it can come with the delivery too, though. Yeah. Because you get some girls with deliveries, no, that's just plain bitchy.
Yeah.
It's not leadership, and that's what I look at is how if they are assertive and they're strong, well, it's important to coach them on that delivery so that it doesn't come across as
And I think that's our job as coaches and leaders, that you highlight, that's appropriate leadership style. That's great job, Sue. That's exactly how we want to lead and how we direct and coach our teammates. Great work. Similarly, pull up the bitchy, that's not leadership, that she's a bitch. We're
You're
not
just
having
putting your
that.
playing teammates down instead of encouraging them and leading them.
Yeah, highlight the behaviours you want. Highlight those, call them out. Great job, fantastic. That's the way to lead. That's the way to encourage your teammates. It's super. That's how, remember we talked about at the start of the year? This is how we want our team to operate. So actually directing what that leadership is, what that behaviour looks like, how it sounds and how it's delivered. I think that's a critical part of teaching our young people how to be leaders, whether they're boys or girls. And you're not going to have 10 leaders on the team. You're not. We're not all. We don't. Well, you are, but they're going to lead in different ways. But I think highlighting that that's the behaviour that we want, and it's not male or it's not female. It's basketball, sport, leadership, whatever the behaviour is that you're trying to encourage. So I think that's and then it's how do you actually do that when you're coaching? What are some of the things that you can do that are trying to extract let's talk about leadership and assertiveness. So one of the things I think traditionally sort of pulls out of Mike's point a little bit is how non-assertive girls can be, right? That they won't use their voice, they don't talk up, they don't want to be perceived as the bitch of the leader because the other girls pull her down, scratch her, and whereas the guys do want it. They're like, here, I'll take the lead, or I'll get it to me, I'll score. We have this tendency that the girls will be a little more submissive and standoffish, but the boys are, Mike's like, well, I want to, run the go-to play to me. So I think it's pulling, pulling out that what is it that we want, and how can we do that with girls? And I think a simple exercise, I still do this with elite female athletes, is to, if I come, someone says I'll come coach a 16 state or something, the first thing I do is when we get in a circle and introduce ourselves, I go around, just tell me your name and how old you are, or something, and they go, Gemma, 14, Charlie, 13. Go, stop. And then I say, how did I introduce myself? Hi, I'm Carrie, Graf, I'm coach, former coach of the Canberra Capitals. And talk to them about tone and pitch and delivery and eyeballing people and looking up, and so that they can see that. And you can say for me, well, they can see that I'm a woman, and okay, a woman doing it. So sometimes as men, is that kind of hard because they go, well, I'm not you, big and tall and strong and hairy, and I'm 13. But I think you can still, or as they do it, say, highlight the person that does it exactly or close to how you want. Fantastic, her volume, she was loud, she looked up, she eyeballed us. She was confident, even if she didn't feel confident, she put her shoulders back. So small thing, but talk and communication for girls in sport, to me, is a massive one in terms of building confidence, creating behaviour that you want. So in all your shooting drills, there's a focus on what we're doing, the score, what we're trying to do, and then there's a talk piece to the shooting drill, and then evaluate it on that. Okay, what were we for talk? Assertive talk, it's one of our goals. It was one of the Opal's themes for a long time in a basketball, assertive athletes. And for girls in particular, that is asserting themselves on the floor with their voice. And it's also hard to speak assertively and not act it. To speak in a really assertive tone and be all, insular and inside yourself. It's really hard if you're asserting yourself with your voice, that with that comes the posture and the body language in a sense of, well, I'm here and I'm confident and I'm assertive. So I think you can teach those skills, some of those skills, if there's consistency through your practices, and consistency, and that's something that we value in terms of your development as a young person, your development as an athlete, and for our team development. So, it's a classic say, and it's a real basketball skill, talking on defence. I was out at Knox the other week and they had the under 18 NITP group, and I was gobsmacked at how quiet it was. And I mean, these are all good, you guys have coached them. They're all taller than me. I'm like, wow, this generation's big. I was a massive point guard in my day. They're big. It was silent. They were playing 5-on-5 full court basketball. You could hear a pin drop. It's like, wow. And again, it's a massive thing. And for girls, they actually like to talk. They like to talk. They want to have a chit chat and so extract out of they're drawn to that anyway. So pull that into how you actually coach within your X's and O's and your drills that highlight talk. Assertive talk is one of the things that will tick all those boxes. Great skills for young people, particularly for female athletes. And great for team development, a defensive team that's blah, 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 blah. And so if we did all that talk that you guys do before practice, which is fantastic, you're catching up, you're being social, don't poo-poo their pre-practice all talk. But when we start, we start. So I think you made the point. You know, then you try and start practice and they're still going, oh yeah, what are you getting for Christmas? You know, so over here. So, you know, setting your boundaries as a coach and a leader, saying, girls, I love that you love to talk. We've got great chemistry, it's fantastic, you're getting on, it's super. But as soon as the whistle goes or I start, we're on. In the breaks, in a drink break, you can have a, you know, say, no talking in the drink break, stop talking to her. That's like their downtime too, and the part of the reason they're at your practice. Because they want to socialise.
Individually, though, it's different.
Yeah.
So if I were to talk to a player after practice, after a game, go, it's going so well today, you know, and they go, well, you know, I've had a bad day, my boyfriend left me, or they break into conversation, but they've had a bad day. Say that to a boy, and he goes, you know, what happened today? Oh, I don't know. You know, and can't extend the conversation because he doesn't always have a bad, you know, but female always will. And I've been married to one for 43 years too, so, so I've got a lot of it, but I've always found that, you know, even at senior level, I've had a bad day. I remember Kelly Abrams, I used to have to say to her, leave your bad day in the car, mate, you know, and don't bring it to practice. But, you know, they're certainly individually they're more conversational, more open to talk about it.
Yeah.
I've found that.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree. You know, it's a classic, you know, teenagers, they're a challenge. But the grunts that you get from teenage boys, and then and then it's about, you know, we're focused on female athletes, but to me that would be part of the leadership teaching, the personal development for our young men. How do we teach them to communicate better? Through basketball. You know, it's a great one, but let's stick with chicks because I'm a chick. No, because that's what we do. So I think that, you know, how can we use some simple tools that women and girls like to do that aren't, you know, let's not put the gender thing on it. How can we put it into our practice, embed it into all our practice, into our drills, into our themes, into who we want to be? What's some of the other things that girls or women do you think like to do? If we're talking, say, you know, around basketball or just how we behave. They like to have lists. Structure, process. Not always. I mean, there's types of people where, you know, I know a lot of you have done some, you know, different things in coaching, and the way people learn is different. You know, but I think there can be, again, we have this sort of gender thing where we float between, you know, whether someone's visual, you know, and you know this through your coaching that you need to write it for some people, do it for some people. So let's say we're introducing a new offence. I could say, let's use Capitals for example. I would say for the Canberra Capitals, let's say Abby Bishop. Great basketball IQ, good listener, good leader. Okay, we're going to run, I just want to do a wrinkle today. Instead of seeing that double down screen, let's make it a stagger. We'll peel off the baseline and we'll float high. And we go, great, let's do it. I'll have 3 other athletes that'll go cross-eyed, going, we're doing that right now. Like, what? And these are, you know, 10, 15-year veterans at elite level. They're cross-eyed, like, we're just going to do that now, without walking through. So they can't visualise through that auditory sound what that looks like. But if I go, okay, right, let's drill this. Okay, here's our elbow double. Let's flip that. Then you go here, you go there. You're off. They go, oh, easy. Okay, let's play. You know, they're kinesthetic. They need to feel it, do it, actually get a sense of what it's like in their body. And then visual. Some, you know, I mean, even some people visually, if you did X's and O's on the board, they're looking at it like it's algebra. And none of those things are right. Because you can do it on the board like a coach doesn't mean it's better than a person that needs to walk it through. It's just how we receive and process information for us. So, you know, getting a sense of, and you all have a feel for what your athletes are like. Studies have shown that there's not actually a gender bias on those things. You visual, auditory, kinesthetic, that's just a processing type. So, but I think as coaches, it's important to get a sense of what are our athletes, and that's not a gender thing. Let's talk a little bit about physical development for young women or for girls. What do we teach under 12s in fundamental ball handling at the moment? What's a common thing that we do with under 12 girls?
Try to keep their eyes up.
Eyes up? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Using left hand.
Use your left hand, yep. So preferred hand, eyes up, yep. What sort of things do we do with them? Give me an example of what you actually do. Two-ball dribble, yep. Yep.
Using tennis ball.
What do we do with the boys? Any others? What do people do with it? Has anyone done different things we've done to our boys? More advanced?
Boys are pretty much the same.
What is that? Great. Great.
I find for girls, like I coach on 14 domestic boys, for girls, they might not talk to us asking how much better ball is than boys are, so they're actually pretty stuff that is a bit less than, expected.
Everything crossover through the legs to roundabout to inside out, both hands, two balls,
Yep.
turn and dribble.
When you open up for them, when you say, which is fantastic, right? When I was young, which is quite a long time ago, I did some of those things because I copied boys, because they didn't get shown to the girls a lot. And I'm like, oh, that's not fair. They get to do what I have to do, And then I'm like, this is right. How come we can't do that one? They're like, because you're a girl, So great. If you then open up and go, okay, we're doing our dribbling, it's two balls and one ball. Now I want you to just explore and play and do whatever. What do the girls do?
It's crossover like.
Yeah. What do the boys do? Oh, I'm in the NBA.
Reverse spin and up.
Yeah. Right? So they're so off the back of that, one of the things is then how do we get our girls to explore and play like that? Because mostly, when they're in that group of girls, they generally don't want to be the show-off. Generally. In physical things. But the guys, everyone wants to be the show-off. Yeah? Well, again, but again, it comes back to, how do we encourage the girls not to worry about that? Not to...
Also three dribble move before the shot.
Yeah.
From a set defender.
Yeah. So where sometimes we might say putting restrictions on or taking restrictions off or laying over the top of what we're doing with guidelines and rules that makes them explore things that they wouldn't normally. So sometimes with the guys, you want to say, right, it's two dribbles only. You're playing one-on-one, you got two dribbles only because we don't want to see 10 between the leg pops before he does his move. Shot clock, buddy, shot clock. So it's like two dribble move only. So they can still do one fancy thing, but get to the rim, pal. We know you're good at this, we have to score. With the girls, you say, right, I want to see it's 4 dribbles. If you've got up to 4 dribbles, you have to at least take 3 before you get a shot. So they have to explore, and some girls will do this. I can do my move, and then say to them, hey, I love your strategy. You did exactly what I asked. But what we want to do is explore. I want you to explore changing angles, changing direction, changing pace. And really leading them with your language and your coaching with what you want them to do. Or pull out, most of you will have 1 or 2 of the girls that do, and again, we have to change the language, and I'm much like this, that, actually, let's try a little, technique. Can I have, one of the ladies come up for me? It's not a basketball skill, you just have to come up and do it. Again, just to really highlight and get us thinking, and like I said, I still need to change it. Can you run like a girl for me?
Sorry, she said Marianne.
Yeah. You should just run normally.
It's actually we have this discussion, I've used that language before with kids that just jog up the court. So, and my demonstration will be, you look like this, you look like a ballerina, sort of thing. Yeah, I get it.
Can you run like a ball?
Not really, no. That be the more powerful, proper movements. I can't run anyway.
No, but right, so even a woman, thank you. They did a year or 2 ago a psychology type thing on even elite female athletes when they were asked, can you demonstrate running like a girl? And they all did this. And these were like Olympic, Virgin Olympic athletes. Okay, can you run like an Olympic sprinter? They did that thing. But when we use the language run like a girl or act like a girl, it has all these connotations of it's soft and light and fluffy and warm and I would say to Liz Cambridge, Lizzie, that was a great fairy dunk. Wrong language, but she dunked it. We don't say to a 17-year-old boy that's learning how to dunk that just gets his hand over him, oh, nice fairy dunk. We go, yeah, his mates go, yeah, you did it. With Lizzie, we go, Lizzie, it's a fairy dunk. I mean, we were proud of it, but it's a fairy tale, and she's powerful enough to go boom. But it's us still breaking that language of saying, we're conditioned to run like a girl, And so that, because there's already images that we're building up and that they're built up.
Sorry.
No worries. On that note, scintillating note, I totally understand, guys. Apologies for being late. So that, how do we first, so shift the language? Let's, use language like a basketballer, like an athlete. And that the images are different for one or the other. But when you see athletic girls run and jump and play hoop, they just look like a basketball. Our backhanded compliment to them is, you play like a guy. That's all, that language is so powerful and can be so negative. There's people understand the positivity in it. As a little tomboy kid that was good at sports, I was, I'd get puffed up when they say, oh, she plays like a boy. But it's not right. It's not right. She plays great. She plays like basketball. Wow, she's good for a girl. It takes years to break that. It's a cultural shift that it's part of our job to really shift that. Shift it in the thinking of our little girls and shift it in the thinking of our little boys, and have them just, experience and grow and be their little person, their little athlete, their little teammate. It's massive, and it's all through our coaching language and all through how we lead it. So, like I said, I still have to pull myself up on it, and I'm big on it because I was told I couldn't do a lot of things as a little girl because I was a girl. You can't play footy. Why? Because you're a girl. You can't play that. You can't do because you're a girl. So, and we're shifting, don't get me wrong. So one of the things I think is we need to challenge our girls to rise up. And the biggest thing I see, let's talk about some technical things with what I see girls, what they don't do, and then how we can stretch them and pull them up so that they do. So classic with girls, so talk is a massive one. Assertive talk, and every day when you start to practice, right girls, let's get in a circle. And use a goal, so talk might be one of our themes for the year. Talk's one of our things, we want to be great. You girls are great talkers. Let's add it to our band, let's add it to our practice, let's add it to our people. Start practice, we get in a circle, and each day change it. Right, we're going to go around. You got to say your name. Or today we're going to practice basketball terms. Help here, open, pressure, jam, whatever your basketball language that you're teaching them. They just have to go around and say that word. Great, 10 out of 10 for assertive. 6, try it again. And really get them to practice their things. It's a 2-minute drill. It's an introduction, icebreaker to your practice. And then, okay, let's go stretch. Small thing, big. And you're shooting drills, talk. The next thing that I see a lot, and I'm doing a fair bit of work with some kids down in Melbourne at the moment, is girls not jumping up on any of their movements. Everything is close to the ground, low level, and mainly because they haven't explored it or tried it. So even look at your layup drill, put out a layup drill, 2 lines, layup drills that we all do it. It's the most ridiculous drill in the world, I think, but we still do it everywhere. And we do it for so long. So, and they do teach 1, 2 steps, and then they all end up over the baseline, and the shots jam in between the top of the rim and the bottom of the rim and the backboard, right? Because everything is this way, and we need them to be this way. So really getting them even as littlies to try and touch the net, even though they're this far away. But have them as part of your warm-up activity. Keep warm anyway. Don't spend 10 minutes stretching, please. Can they try and touch the net? Imagine if the next little generation of girls from 8, 9 or 10 have tried to touch the net for their first few years and then tried to touch the backboard and then tried to touch the ring. Guess what? Most women in the next generation will be dunking as a normal part of the play, I guarantee. Do you know when we started to teach Liz Cambridge? So Lizzie was a ranger. So I had Liz at Nobles when we taught Lizzie when we started coaching her on dunking. Guess how old she was? 19. She's 6'8". 19! Man! That body on a boy, he would have been doing reverse 2-handed, boom! And we had to extract.
We would have also naturally tried to do that too.
Yeah, because the socialisation and the competitive nature and the way boys socialise is everyone wants to try and do it. But we can extract that and put it and encourage the girls that that's okay behaviour, and it's actually fun behaviour, girls. It's fun. it's fun, yeah? Because when they pop up at this top end, then all the girls, the women are encouraging Lizzie, oh my God, it's amazing, you know? And go, I'm saying that's bullshit. Because Lizzie, if we were your height, we would have been dunking 10 years ago, they say. But at this end it flips, because now they're women and they go, God. You know, so we can extract, you know, competitiveness and lay over the top and underneath. The competitiveness is good, it's fun. It doesn't mean you're a bitch. So how do we do that? That we have competitive drills that girls practice and we encourage winning and losing. Sorry for the people that believe in fun for all, sport for all, it's all that. I'm not a believer in that. I think it's absolutely wrong. My background is education too. There's a place for that in some social sports. Once we start getting here, the lessons through sport are life lessons. Winning, losing, you don't get selected, you do get selected, suck it up. They're great life lessons. So I believe, most of drills should have a competitive nature to them. Because then we're teaching consistently, oh, you lost. You know, how do you feel about that? How do we grow from that? You won. Well, how are you doing that with honour and that those are critical pieces for boys and girls. So the back to the, you know, how do we teach girls to be athletic, to not, let's run like this and jump like this. How can we encourage them through our practices, through our training, to actually, this is just how we do it, this is how we behave. So there's elements in your drills that are, you know, what can we mirror from the boys? Yeah, they do try and dunk. So let's make that a drill for the girls. Because the boys will free play it, the girls won't. So let's build it into part of what they do. So that they explore their athleticism. They won't generally if we don't encourage them. And then they understand, well, this is fun, it's exciting. I can grab the ring, I can hang on it. So I'll give you an example because I think it highlights the Liz Canby example of learning how to dunk. Because I think it really highlights how we need to tap into our athletes and what it is that drives them and motivates them to get them to do the things that we think they're capable of doing, and even just to stretch them, to see what it's like to explore their limits. So I had Liz with the Opals for 4 years. So we early on, let's say she was 17, 18, we'd bring her up to the AOS in little spurts and do, you know, she'd been an AOS athlete, she was getting good coaching in the WFL program, but as a special athlete, we'd bring her up, do some post work. So, you know, I started working with Liz and I said, Lizzie, can you grab the ring? She goes, yeah. I said, okay, we'll show you. So she just stands at the front of the charge circle. No wind up, anything, no. Just boop, and touched it with 2 hands, easy. I figured she could, but it was like, oh, okay. So then, can you grab it and hang on it? She goes, Graf, I'm scared of heights. She's 6'8". I'm scared of heights. Me trying not to have a little chuckles, but it was real for her. It was real for her. I've worked with a lot of tall female athletes, but, you know, 6'8's big. And for her, it was. And she wasn't really a sporty little kid. Basketball found her. So she, I said, okay. I said, well, what about Lizzie at the monkey bars when at school? You know, how'd you go with hang on? She goes, Graf, you have to touch the ground. So she couldn't, you know, monkey bars. She'd just walk on the ground doing it, right? So I'm going to find another analogy. How can I, you know? I had to explore my own coaching. Well, how am I going? Okay. None of those normal analogies work for her. So, well, okay, you do core work in the gym. She goes, yeah. I said, okay, well, just think it's like the chin bar and you're just doing your core work, you know. I said, just jump up, grab it and hang there and pull your knees up. She goes, will it fall on me? I said, and again, I'm thinking, but again, she's had no experience of this. No, she hasn't hung around with the boys trying to dunk it. She's been chatting with the girls, going to fashion things and talking about what skirt she's going to wear. So I said, they're built for NBA guys. They're 50 kilos heavier than you. It definitely won't fall on you. You could swing on that and go crazy. It won't fall over. She goes, okay. So up she goes, grabs it, you know, swings on it, jumps down. Easy, no problem. I said, okay, mate, can you live it a bit more? And Lizzie's got a personality, so I said, can you just give it a bit of, I said, that's nice and soft and fluffy, but let's give it a bit of, So, and she would explore a role play with me, some other girls wouldn't. They're like, you know, it's stupid, I'm not going to act like that, you know, like what? But Lizzie was happy to do that. And to maybe explore your power, how strong you are, it's amazing. And I literally had goosebumps. And I said to him, mate, you're giving me goosebumps. Do you know how amazing this body of yours is? So then I said to him, mate, we pulled some of the AS guys over and said, can you show up? I can't teach you how to dunk, right? But can you go? So they talked about taking off clothes and doing all that. And you could see her, there was a real nervousness. It's like, well, now socialising with the boys in their environment, their space. So to have her try and break down that barrier too, because as a 17-year-old girl, she didn't want to be doing that with the 17, 18-year-old boys. Like there's this social thing that didn't meld for a girl like her. But she, moved out of that bit. The next bit that then was to say, okay, is when the AS girls come in and practice, I want you to show them how to dunk. She's like, she wasn't ready to explore that with girls younger than her. Again, it comes back to the thing we're talking about. And I had to really, coddle her along and say, mate, this is amazing. You can set. Imagine if we were doing this with you when you were 14. How good would you be at it now? And so to just try and pull forward all that socialisation and nervousness about her, really about being a girl doing something that boys do, was really deep down what it was about for her. That she didn't have anyone to copy doing that. So I guess I share that with you just to show how we can pull them along, coax them along, encourage them, and then break down the barrier that, the next generation, it's like, well, tall girls, the expectation will be that you can dunk. That's just the expectation. It hadn't been there because girls hadn't tried to do it. Now, for the big girls, it's like, well, it's part of their daily training. You should be doing any girl over 6'3", my mind, it's part of their individual. You should be doing ring grabs, board taps, the whole bit, and not just as plyometric exercises, with the view that they can dunk. Girls can dunk. That's so the thinking around that is how do we lay, dunk's unique and special because of the size of girls, but look at them all now, they're massive. So we need to try and apply that sort of coaching into all the elements of our basketball, that we take off any of those things, and this is how you model being a basketball player. Does anyone have any questions or comments on that?
Some of the with the girls, the difference between the boys and the girls, particularly around that sort of issue, is if I'm doing a drill with a boy and I walk up to him and say, how good a dribbling are you, or how good a shooter are you? Five is on the gun. They'll go, I'm 5. Absolutely. And you say to a girl who might knock them down repeatedly, and you walk up to her and you say, how good a shooter are you? And she'll say, I'm shit. I'm a 1. And that's girl after girl after girl after girl, irrespective of their ability. They're shit, but the boy's awesome. Mm-hmm. And it's a challenge to get that self-esteem build at the same time.
Absolutely, it's a great point. It's the same, the whole thing with corporate, women leaning out. A guy will be 10% qualified for a job, he'll apply for it and walk in like, well, he should get it. A woman will be 90% qualified and go, I don't know if I should apply. It happens at all levels, and that's why part of what we're doing down here with you guys is so critically important, to shift that whole mindset. So you're absolutely right. What I do then with the girls, because I get it with elite female athletes, I call them on it straight away. And I'll say, your athletes speaking with female. So that's ridiculous. You are not a 1. No one here's a 1. I want you to evaluate yourself again. I think you're close to a 4. What do you think you are? And force them to repeat it, say the language. And when they're learning that evaluation process, highlight someone, or extract someone, pick first who you know is more likely to be the confident one that will give them a correct score. Go, you're absolutely right, Jane, you are a 5. Great, it was assertive, you evaluated yourself perfectly, you gave yourself the right score, fantastic. That's exactly the leadership, that's exactly the behaviour and leadership we want. You didn't undersell yourself. We're not underselling yourself.
It's the reason. Because if you asked Angela Moreno, she was a guard, she was a and then you get ostracised by everyone else in the team for being outspoken about your ability.
Yeah.
Is that a characteristic that you?
It's and again, that's finding that unique balance, isn't it? It's the over the top, and the girls then, in teams, in most teams, male or women, there's a I think a talent hierarchy, and then a social hierarchy. And then a social hierarchy. And they don't always gel, right? So the superstar doesn't necessarily hold court in the social hierarchy. Sometimes they do, and they might be up in the pegging, but really because of their playing status. But if it was just in a social environment away from things, the pecking will shift. So I think it's part of understanding that and then managing that as a coach. And it's a challenging one, it's not easy. So the the behaviours that are around that are when you observe that behaviour of them pulling down the one that said she's a gun, is pulling out having a rapport with the social lead. It's saying that's not the behaviour. She is actually really good at shooting and she's just honest in her evaluation. So through your evaluation process and their self-evaluation, you're coaching them on how to evaluate yourself properly, how to respect other people's evaluations of their skill level. So I think it comes into that whole building of your social culture of your group, that, highlighting the correct behaviours on both ways, on self-evaluation, on respect of other people's views and their skill set, and it's a big task. Like that's a lot of but really, to me, that's part of the art of coaching, because that's about developing your people and their people skills and your culture build and all that, away from your X's and O's. But through your X's and O's, you're building all those things as well, because that's what you're teaching. Right? That you're teaching them how to be the people you want them to have a successful team for you. And whatever success is for you, it might just be that they develop their skills better that year. It might be we've got a chance to be winning, and that's part of our process. So, not success in winning the championship, what have you. Does anyone else have a comment or a question on that?
My daughter was always perceived as being very rough and aggressive, but I just put that down to being having two older brothers and always having to fight for everything.
Yeah.
She did the sports academy, but I could hear the whispers in the crowd, that she was aggressive and rough and was all unnecessary, but she just fought for the ball.
Yeah. And I think that again comes into our teaching of what's assertiveness and what's physical play that's required of basketballs. Not a girl thing, not a boy thing. It's a physical game. We want you to be physical. We want you to, and here's another thing I think we can teach our girls at our female athletes at a young age is enjoying the physical battle. Teaching them how to wrestle and teaching them how to use parts of their body. So, I think it's changed how kids play sport. But guys, traditionally, again, they'll play a bit of rough and tumble. Girls won't so much. But the ones that have played with boys often are more conditioned and usually they have brothers or whatever, that they're used to a bit of that. So the physical contact for them, they know what to do. So I think part of it for coaching girls is teaching them that that's part of our sport and here's how we do it. Not, okay, we're going to wrestle today, but you do body contact drills with them that are part of your stretching exercises or part of your learning how to play in the post. But you do that with all of them. And it's about, can you teach them how to use their chicken wing, the language we use. So let's say you're starting to introduce how to play in the post. And not just for post players, everyone. We're going to, we're playing a pass and cut offense. And when you get into the key, I want you to be able to post up. Point guard on point guard, two man on two man, whatever it is. Those skills, or that we're actually posting up on the wing for a wing lead. So teaching them and getting right up in them and having them feel body on body. And giving them cues, so giving them real specific cues on what they're doing. They forget that they're actually elbowing someone in the boobs or, putting their elbow on someone's throat, which they actually are. But you've taught them this is what we're doing today. So, and using language that they can grab onto. So one of the things that I use that I've found is effective, and again, it can go from post play to getting open on the wing, and it's about physical contact. And again, think of the language. So I'll say this can I have a demo up here? Lady on lady, come on. No, let me have one of the guys. I'll do it with one of the guys. Can you go, Tom? So,
What you would have been enough.
I probably should do it with my brother, shouldn't I? Yeah, a bit of payback now that he's bigger than me. So one of the things that I talk about with them, and think of the language that I'm using with girls and women. Long and strong, right? So, and what I'm saying, so listen to the language, long and strong. Long, basketball, get long, be athletic, strong, right? And so we're saying to them, right, when we post up, so let's say I'm going to post you up, just try and defend me, turn around that way, this way, put your arm there, yeah. So now I'm going to say, I want to put my arm bar or my elbow in his chest or on his shoulder, depending on how, and get him to explore, put a big with a little, just so that all this is a 5-minute drill on body and feeling confident and strong. So I'm going to try and I'm going to be long here, actually stand this way for me. Let's say this is the edge of the key, and he's trying to defend me. I'm going to put my butt to the baseline. I'm going to put my elbow in his chest, and if I'm taller, my elbow on his shoulder. Oh, sorry, got you in the throat, eh? And they can explore it here and strong. And I'm going to hold him off with this. Or I'm going to practice in a pajama. I'm going to put my chicken wing, so we talk about chicken wing. I'm going to get a lead foot, and I'm going to chicken wing his hip, long and strong. I've actually got a hold of him. And then say, see if you can hold him there for 1 and 2 and 3 seconds. But look how, palms up, Graf, I'm not doing anything. So I've actually got him pinned, yeah? So, and again, that they're getting comfortable with body contact, with using and the language long and strong. So you could do that on the wing lead. You know, we've taught slash arm lead foot, but it's actually a post-up position. Yeah. And that and for girls in particular, you know, doing some things with physical. Go back to back with me. Back to back. Okay. Link arms. And even just this, you know, get into. I'm going to put him on my back. Actually, I've got that back on mine.
Yeah,
but you know, put each other on our back. You know, squat down, squat up. You know, things like that where it's a warm-up exercise, but it's actual physical. And just get him conditioned to some physical contact, and then it's fun. You know, even get him to lay down on the ground and do arm wrestles as a part of your 5-minute warm-up. We're going to have an arm wrestle today. Let's get a basketball. We hold the ball edge. Okay, count to 3. 1, 2, 3. It's a jump ball. You got to rip it away. So it's a basketball skill practice session for a loose ball, but you're teaching strength, and it's fun. You're forcing competitiveness in a fun environment. You're getting used to the fun of physical contact in sports, and there's some specific basketball teachings in. But again, so the language, teaching physicality early, and letting him know that, give a little elbow on the thing, where does it hurt? So they're getting a sense, and I say to the young girls, if someone on the team's being a dirty bitch, sorry, it's being videoed, well, long and strong. Right? It's not a foul, but you let her know. No, we're not having any of that. So
when they'll take that in a game, they will, if they're playing in opposition and you say to them, okay, you are getting hit behind the play, your words long and strong, you know, use your body, get in front, tell them that's not allowed, they're fine, they fire up in the game.
Yeah.
At training, they end up on the floor in giggles.
Yeah.
Anytime you get them to try and touch each other, they end up giggling their heads off, and you end up, a 5-minute drill ends up being 15 because they're going crazy. And we one drill the other day where it was a closeout drill, and then just a defense run to the basket, try to touch the net. The first couple got this far off the ground and ended up in giggles, and it wasn't until one girl got right off the floor and touched it, they all went, oh shit, okay, we're going to do this now.
Yeah.
And it's that giggle factor. It's fine when it's somebody they don't know, but when it's with their own teammate.
So you're on the right track. So they're giggling. Why are they giggling?
Because they're nervous.
Nervous, embarrassed. So you just got to keep doing it, and you're on the right track because they're giggling. It's new, it's uncomfortable. Should we be doing this? Not sure. Will we look funny? And then you've done it 4 times, and then it's a drill. So you just got to break through the giggle barrier and know that that's their natural response to, we don't want people to see us messing up, you know.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. So, stay with it. Once the giggle's gone, you know you've achieved it, and then they're into the drill. And it might take you 6 sessions. Because a few of them, if the social hierarchy are the gigglers, then it's harder to break it down. And so then sometimes you need to extract them, or be smart on how you set your groups up. Break those ones up, break up the cliques if you're trying to achieve something more quickly. If you're doing something where you think it's important that they're having fun, pull the cliques back together and let them giggle and do that. So again, it comes back to that art of coaching. Knowing your team, where are they at, which is good. They're giggling, you know the response. How do we push them through that barrier?
How have you handled the explosiveness of the female athlete? Because generally see with balls, they are explosive, especially if you're looking at a one-on-one move, going to the basket. I find with a lot of the girls, they're very, let's gently go to the basket.
Yeah.
How have you handled trying to really get them in and really being explosive with those first couple of moves?
Yeah, I think it's 2 things. I think there's also a perception on us of what explosive is. So when we think explosive, I want everyone to think of an explosive play right now. Like visualise them, see them, feel them, hear them. What does it look like? And most of us will visualise a male athlete. So there's a little bit of that still. Remember, when coaching girls, it's girls on girls, women on women. I take your point though, you're right, they still are a little more timid. So it's placing restrictions. When you play one-on-one, you do some things like this. You get to keep the scoring. So you also want to maintain things. So it's okay, we're playing one-on-one. You get 1 point if you score. You get 2 points if you initiate physical contact on the defence and your basket goes in. If you initiate physical contact and your basket doesn't go in, you still get 1 point. So you're trying to create a behaviour that you want. And then you need to teach them that, okay, well, how do I, because what they're often fearful of is physical contact. So they go around the world, elite women do it too. I've been working with some 13, 14-year-old elite girls down here. I was like, wow, beautifully talented, long, athletic. They go, you know, here's the basket, they're at the elbow, and to get there, their first dribble is here. Because they don't want to bump into her. They don't want to be in her space. So it comes back to all your build-up work. Every warm-up activity, every stretching thing should have physical contact. Arm wrestles, we have to push each other over the line, little combative drills, so that physical contact barrier is broken down from the get-go. So things like, even things like this, every part of your warm-ups, I mean, do you guys do stretching with your kids? Please say no. If you do, please take it out. I mean, when you have an hour, 10 minutes of stretching, skills, right? You can still get stretching into things, but some other drills. Can I have another demo person? So combative drills that some of you do. Is anyone here a teacher? Okay. So let's say get with your partner on a line, feet like this, put your hand out. Okay. When you can't grab hands, you have to try and push each other. Way, there's one to me. Okay. Again, it's combative. It's not physical. Then we go, can you grab this hand? Oh, no, sorry, this one. Yeah. And I'll grab my wrist. Sorry. And now I'll grab your wrist. Okay. Now, so first we get 3, we don't have to worry about the line, we can build that up. We have to get it up. You've got to try and slap me in the face, and I've got to try and slap it up. Right? So again, fun, giggly, but combative, you know? But it's fun. And this could be part of 3 minutes warm-up. We do that one, we do an arm wrestle, and we do a back-to-back pull-up and pull-down. So really quick fun. Giggles is going to happen for the first 3 sessions, and then you have 3 different ones that you do. Or, you know, you've got to tap their knees or grab their knees, but building up physical contact so that they've done it from this big, and you're faking them. So then when they get into this combative situation, it's just like, oh, well, bumpy, do a hip. You know, do things where you go, okay, we've got to do 4 shoulder bumps. Bump shoulders. The girls will try and do some little dance or something. But building in physical contact so that it becomes really normal, they're used to it, they don't giggle when it happens, and that they learn. It doesn't actually hurt. I don't need to avoid it. But this classic one, yeah, I've got to go past her. Oh, there's the basket. I've got to go past her, and we all go over here. So, providing coaching tips and language to get them to be, you know, direct drivers, and then having some rules in place that force physical contact. So you say, okay, this one, it's one-on-one, and we're going to practice making shots when you're fouled really hard. So defense, you have to foul the crap out of her. Your job in this drill is you have to foul her. You're only allowed to foul her on the arms, but you have to hit her so we can hear a slapping sound. You know, and get it first. Okay, you know, do a slapping drill as the start of practice. You know, face, hands, something where they're conditioned to that. And then we do, right, the defense in this drill, you have to foul her really hard, make the slapping sound on her arms. Your job as the offense is to try and finish the shot, no matter the foul. Yeah? And again, you're forcing that becomes okay. And then you say, right, of course we're not going to do that in the game defensively, but we want to be great at finishing. And sometimes you're going to get fouled. You have to finish. Can we get an and one? Even if you're fouled really hard, can you find a shot? So you're actually training 2 things, but again, it's teaching the conditioning to physical contact. Putting some things in place that force proximity to the defender. So, you know, in your teaching, I want your Nike swoosh or your, what are they wearing, Carrie, I want your Carrie Under Armour thing on hers, his, what. So that shoulder to shoulder. I want you on this move, okay, defense is going to be stationary. Offense, on the way past, you have to hit her shoulder with your shoulder. So as you go past, you've got to hit her shoulder. And just do it stationary. You've got to hit her shoulder. So that they're conditioned and there's no fear. There's a subtle fear for them, what happens when you bump into. You know, I said to you, there was a fear for Lizzie Cambridge. I'm scared of heights. Will the ring fall on me? They were real fears for her. They sounded funny to us, but they're real fears. Just like the girls avoid that contact, they haven't done it, so they're a little bit fearful. Not fearful in, oh my God, I'm going to die, but there's a natural fear because of their things that they haven't done. Similarly, one of the big things for the girls when it comes to physical contact, you know, with our post plays, with finishing, is teaching them from an early age how to fend off. You know, again, it comes back to the thing. So as they're going up for a shot, to be able to clear the shot blocking hand or come up with their chicken wings and create contact. So really talking to them from an early age in any of those one-on-one scenarios, creating contact. As the offensive person, can you create contact? As the screener, can you create contact? So your position and your body, can you make contact? Again, breaking down the thing of girls don't use their bodies physically. They are strong, girl on girl, woman on woman. Yeah, and then it doesn't hurt when you fall over, and it's actually kind of fun to bump into someone. It's much nicer than being out of play. What an interest. Is anyone here at netball? Coach? Wait, that's not going online, is it? Skirt ball. Okay, and I should have said, you know, what is said in here stays in here, Chatham House rules, but I had to play it first, right? What a ridiculous game. A game built for people that thought girls shouldn't play sports. Let's wear a dress. Not functional at all. So when you jump up and everyone's watching your undie show, fantastic. When you bump into her, oh my God, girls bumping into her, stand next to her and let her have a free turn. Could we make it any more girl and put any more limitations on girls playing sport? And everyone's restricted to an area, can't possibly be free and run everywhere. You can only go here and you can only go there. Boop, out of play, and have a 2-foot turn. Oh, have another turn. You're a girl. Girls get 2 turns when they play with boys, don't they? She's a girl, they have another turn. I mean, to me, it goes against, I think netball have done a wonderful job in the women's sports space, but the game, the basis of the game has come from a place that says girls shouldn't really be playing sport, and when they do, it should be very feminine and girl. And don't bump into them. You might hurt them. Stand next to them. You know, so again, I would never say that publicly, and I do think netball's done a wonderful job in the women's sports space, but I mean, the new game's fantastic. 5-on-5, 3-point line, might be basketball. Anyway, I digress. But can you see again those subtle things of what a girls play sport? What sport should the girls play? Netball. It's the pink one with the dress. How limiting on our girls. It's a wonderful space too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's wonderful for a whole lot of them. But wow, it puts it in this box that what girls should and can and can't do in a whole lot of ways. In other ways, no. Any comments on? So, you know, that big piece, that really active working piece around physical contact. Introducing it, getting rid of the giggle factor, which was a great point, and make it, 2 things to make it part of every practice. Assertive talk, assertive behaviour, assertive evaluation and confident evaluation of yourself, physical contact. So that like that they enjoy it. They're like, yeah, let me be long and strong. Yeah, I'm going to take it to the rim. You know, that's just what we do when we play hoops. Not what boys do, not what girls do. That's what we do. How are we travelling for time? Being that we started late, I'm happy to continue on my merry way.
Griffy, do you think there's a number of basketball girls already gone to footy? It'd be interesting over time to see where most of those females, what sports they've come from to go to footy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be...
Mentioning the netball thing, it was just be interesting to...
I think it'll be, if we sort of look at the tracking, say, of the men's sports, I think it'll be no more drained than, say, the AFL, like what's moving down there, you know. Our best basketballing men, and you probably know this from your days, they were really good at footy, and a lot of them were recruited, but they chose, a lot of them stuck with hoop. That next tier, then Brogan, Brock Dean was a very good player, AOS athlete, Australian junior, didn't crack the necks and went.
It's usually the very best basketballers stick with basketball.
Yep.
The Scott Pendlebury's, like AOS scholarship, probably wasn't going to go on and become a boomer, made the right choice and play footy.
Yeah, that next at top.
Jack Watts, another one,
Yeah.
Well, Watts was a little bit ahead. He might have played for Australia if he pursued it a bit more. But I found that most of the really good kids stick to basketball, even though they play footy, a lot of footy. In my day, with the country, when there was no TAC Cup, all the kids played basketball all the way through to Ed Stratton, who does work here, played for Collingwood. Fraser Gehrig played big country all the way through. So, but once TAC Cup come along, they're now committed at 14, 15 to go to footy, and that is draining basketball ranks a bit, particularly in the country areas in South Australia.
I think it'll be. I think it'll take a while for it to actually pull. I think what we'll see is that same thing. Not our blue chippers, the next tier do a bit of double because the women's sports generally tend to be shorter seasons because the cost factor, built for TV, whatever it might be. So I think we'll see a few that play dual sports and still can. That professional women's sport only takes up small chunks. I think the women's soccer is maybe 2.5 months. Basketball, we're the only women's sport semi-professional that are still a 6-month season. And our best are going to choose here in Europe or here in WNBA. They've got a career path that way.
I didn't think girls could kick a footy until I saw Jana Save and Rick one about 60 metres.
Yeah. And most of the girls of the WNBL generation, I'm going to say from that one, you know, Jess Bibby now's retired from the Capitals last year. GWS have picked her up. So they'll.
Aaron Phillips.
Yeah.
Krishna Vildra went to the.
Yeah. And that were a generation that played. They were all the tomboys, a lot of them, and they played footy. You know, now I think our junior basketball, there's less chance for them to do both sports. You kind of get, you know, you're in your basketball stream, and once you're in your ITP, you kind of stay there. So I think it'll be more challenging. I think they'll have to maybe decide sooner, but you know, because it's up to us to get our game back on TV and back in the profile, and also let people know that it's wonderful they've got minimum salaries in the women's AFL and all that, but has anyone earned in this country a salary like Lauren Jackson's or all our post players in the WNBL earn more money than any netballers or any of the footballers? That we've still got a great. I think it's part of us pitching our women's basketball and the pathway for our girls. You can actually be a fully professional basketball coach in this country for a job.
Even the men's game, Scott Pendlebury will never earn as much as Dante Axon or Fence.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that very capacity. Any questions on anything we've talked about, or a burning question that you had about what specifically do I do with the girls, or should I be doing differently, or something you've played around with them, successes that you've had?
Just on your theme then about women in sport, girls in sport. I had to do an exercise a couple of years ago, Docs, about my daughter started bottom age at under 12s, and there were 70 kids who started and mapped them all the way through to 18s. And you ask anyone, how many do you think have finished it that's still there at under 18 level? And everyone to a T says 15. I don't know why they picked that number, but there was one, and it was her. So one left out of 70 kids on the way through. What do we need to do at 18s to keep kids playing?
Yeah,
Because they all drop out.
That's a good question, and it's a challenge for keeping girls in sport across the board. It's, you know, they get to that mid-teens and they choose social things and not sport. And I think that's where, you know, then what we do with that age group is really important. So what is it there? Why are they selecting out? So I'm going to suggest they're selecting out because the fun and the socialisation's gone. So it's our job then to keep the fun and the socialisation in. So how you then structure that, your training, is half your practice becomes, we're all here together, all friends, and we're having fun. You know, it sounds silly, but it'll keep them there because they're playing with their friends. And then those decisions on, you know, and that's hard, you know, when it starts to become, you know, rep 18-1s or whatever, you know, it's obviously competitive and those sort of things. But in those next rep programs, then how much of it can we maintain as they're actually, and I think it goes back to this, why ask them, you know, at the start of the year, when you're doing, you know, setting your guidelines for the season and your team themes and your rules, ask them. You know, in under 14s, before that peak age when we know they're likely to leave, ask them. And don't have them, you know, the other thing too is, you know, when you girls, and we've all talked about it, when you go around and say, like even if I've got a group under 16s and I go around and get them to evaluate their score, if I start with a 3, so we evaluate a score to 6, 6 is championship, gold medal, whatever, 1's a disaster, no high scores. If I start with a 3, guaranteed from start to finish with a new group with me, 3. It's like, well, you're a 3, you're a 5, you're a 1, but 3, because we don't want to be back to the, don't want to be the show pony stand out because then the girls will pull me down, yeah? So trying to shift that, you know, and it's hard because it's kind of entrenched, but making our culture of our team not like that. That this is how we roll at basketball. This is how it goes. That we break down those barriers. But then asking them and get them to write it down. Because if one of them says one thing, then they'll all say it. So get them to write down 3 things that they want to get out of the team this year. Or 3 things I want to get out of being on our team this year. What is it? And it might be fun. Being with my friends. Winning. They might even not have winning and losing, whatever. But that'll give you a real snapshot into why are they here. So if I'm then coaching, we're going to make the top 4 this year, that's all competitive. And 9 of my 10 players have said, we want to have fun and we want to be with our friends. And every drill you're doing is they're gone. They're gone. It doesn't mean you can't do 30 minutes of that, but then, one competitive basketball focus drill, one drill, it's still basketball competitive, but fun. Their favourite drill. Ask them to tell you what their favourite drill is. And each practice have one of their favourite drills in it. Well, how about this one? A lot of girls, I've got 3-year-old twins, a girl and a boy. Guess which one's assertive, and I'm trying not to use the word bossy. Guess which one? The girl, right? The twins. The boy, it's crazy, laid back. I can do it myself, I want to do it. Give them the belt. So right now, we've got 10 practices across our season. For 5 minutes of every practice, I'm going to we draw it out of the hat. Jane, you're first. Carrie, you're second. Sue, you're third. Whatever. Where you get to take a drill. It can be any drill, and you can't overlay as a coach. No, that one's stupid. If they want to do skipping, let them do skipping. If they want to but they have some input into practice, and they have some control. You're also teaching them to be a leader. You're going to coach this drill. It's your drill. You make it up. You do it. They might sit down and have a chat, and you're like, oh, you're kidding me. If that's what they want to do, let them do it. But give them some power. Yeah, the first drill. There's your drill. That's it, girls. Well done. Oh, you want to do that one too? There you go. The first 5 minutes is nothing but talking. But providing them input into their team and their enjoyment and their experience. And it's also teaching them leadership. Tell them, next week, Jane, it's your drill. Make sure you come prepared. You've got 5 minutes. I'll put the clock on. You've got 5 minutes for your drill. You have to introduce it, coach it, do it. You're the coach of the drill. Yeah.
I think one of the most important things, and I think this is for boys too, is actually understanding the personality of every person on the team.
Absolutely.
Because, and I'll speak for this because it's my daughter, coach last year, she's always unhappy. I said, is she? Take a look at her off the court. What is she? She's smiling and laughing, but as soon as she comes to training, I get nothing. It's about Alicia. Right? You ask Dave what type of person Alicia is. She's focused. She gets on the court, you'll very rarely get a smile. But she's loving it. Off the court, totally different child. That's just who she is. And then other kids will get on the court with giggling. And so I think we all have to be very, very cautious. Not cautious is the wrong word. Cognizant of
Absolutely.
how each person actually reacts.
Totally agree. And again, teach that to our team. This is what focus looks like. Isn't that fantastic? This is what, that's silly. But where's the silly coming from? Fear, embarrassment, whatever. So it's a great point. And again, teaching in the games, we want to be focused, just like Alicia. This is what focus looks like for Alicia. She's in the moment, she's playing hard, she's on task. And coaching that's the behaviour that we want in the games. We want to be focused. And when we're at practice and we're in our drills, once we've coached them, we've had a little giggle, now we're focused. And give them a cue. Focus. Use the word. Focus. We're on, we're switched on, we're on task, let's do it. But absolutely, I totally agree. Understanding the little people. What drives them, what motivates them, what are their cues? So what other people read as unhappy is not unhappy at all. What other people read as silly is not actually silly, it's fearful. And again, come back to that art of coaching. It's about people. How do we coach and lead our people to be the best they can be in the environment that we're in and be a success for us, whatever success is in our context.
I think you've got to give them ownership too. I think that's particularly with females. For example, I'll give you, when I was coaching the New Zealand team, I was trying to put in a play, backdoor play system, and they just weren't buying it. They weren't getting it. There was no buy-in. And frustrated, I said, well, how would you do it? And they showed me. I took those plays to the Olympics.
They still run?
They still do them even now. So sometimes they do know better, and you've got to give them a chance to, and it's the same with boys, but with girls, I think that when they feel like they've got some ownership, then you've got a team and you can play. And I think you can start that at any age and give them ownership.
Especially with girls, you can start it because they actually want to own. They want to dress themselves, They do. So, and again, that's, we talked about earlier, what do they naturally do? Then how do we, put that in a bubble and put it into our basketball as coaches? That, okay, they are actually little girls, and, there's a tendency for them to be quite assertive and determined and self-willed, and I want to learn, I want to do quickly, So how do we really draw that out and make it a real strength of coaching girls? How do we teach them that they can be strong and assertive, and teach the rest of them that that's not actually bitchy and bossy, and that it's positive for girls to do that. So let's stop this bitch behaviour of pulling down the girls that are doing the behaviour that is actually great leadership. It's not male or female, it's just how we roll and how we want to behave as athletes and people, and succeed in life in those ways. They want to own it, but ask them. Has anyone here asked their team at the start of the year what they want out of the season? Critical question. Let me ask you, what are the biggest challenges of coaching female athletes? What's your biggest challenge or a current problem you have with coaching them?
I think probably getting that balance of letting them have that say, that buy-in, and still maintaining that authoritarian position. Because I'm 31, I look quite young. They see me around the stadium all the time. I'll have a giggle with them, all that sort of stuff. And I find there'll be times where we'll be in the game and I'll be like, no, I want to do it like this sort of thing, but I need a timeout. So it's trying to get that balance of, yes, I'm in charge, I'm running this whole thing, but you still want them to have the voice in there. I find that balance is quite hard. I guess being the friend and being, in charge.
Yeah, it sounds like you're on the right track. I mean, for a long time I was younger than a lot of the athletes that I was coaching, so I was head coaching the WNBL when I was 25. And I think you just grow through that, and what are the strengths at that time then aren't so much. So I in fact find it harder now to coach 19-year-olds than I did 10 years ago. But the further I've felt removed from their age, the more disconnected I feel. It's like, God, I don't know how was she saying that? When I was close to their age, it was much more, I was really in tune with how that was said, how it was spoken. Now I go, man, I'm a dinosaur. Those 19-year-olds are driving me insane. But I think you're on the right track. When I'm coaching, and we can have this other relationship as friends over here. But and I think it's different for everyone. What's your personality with them? What relationships do we have with each of the people? Because the way we deal with each of them is slightly different.
I think also that a coaching skill is learning to operate between that authority and empowerment. And in basketball, you're always moving on that continuum. There's never just one, this is me. And for example, if you're at practice, the example I just gave you, you're in an empowerment phase. You want the players to take ownership, you want buy-in. So you're asking them questions and you're finding out about 30 seconds to go in the big game and you're 3 down, that's authority. The players don't want you to ask them what they think you should do. You've got to tell them. So, and that's the coaching skill of being on that. And our more experienced coaches are very skilled at knowing where they are on that continuum.
And interesting to that point, Mike, sometimes it's not necessarily a star player, but one of your leadership type players will chime in with 30 seconds to go and go, no, we've got to do this. And you've got to have the reporter go, yeah, we're going that way, or no, we're doing this. But they, some will, when you've got that, depth of knowledge and depth of experience and rapport, that they're confident enough to say, rather than go, no, we're not doing it, like you're going to say, let's do something else, that they'll actually present in a critical moment. No,
Or that coaching skill to recognise that.
Yeah.
I'll give an example of something with Graf when with the Opals one time we're playing Cuba, I think we're down in Canberra. We're down 10 and you were saying at the time we need time out. And I remember him turning to you and saying, don't you think Tims knows what she's doing? And I went, why would I give him a time out? That was a big learning thing for me at the time.
Yeah.
But he recognised that, no, we don't have time out. I don't want to give him an opportunity for a start. And we've got a player out there that pretty much knows what to do anyway. So coaches, you've got to recognise that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Talked a little bit at the start about limiting beliefs, and I think a few people raised it here about girls placing limiting beliefs on themselves too. What are some things that we hear girls say that are limiting beliefs? I'll tell you some that I've heard. So from Opal's athletes, I'm not very athletic. It's like, you're an Olympian, and you're saying I'm not very athletic. What are some of the things you hear from your girls?
I get a lot of I can't.
Yeah. How do we deal with that? What can we do? What's the technique that we can use to deal with
Why can't they?
Yeah. So reframing that comment, or reframing it so it says something different, or asking them why can't they? you know, and they go,
I don't know.
so therefore you can. Yeah. Well, imagine if you could. Imagine if you could do that. You know, so again, just those language shifts on reframing, shifting their thinking, asking them questions. Why can't you do that? You know, or just stating you can do that. I think you can. If you think you can, you can. But again, a really important part, because the women all the way up to here will say, we talked about learning in and learning out. The guys go, I can do it. He's never tried it before, and he can't actually do it. But he'll find a way to do it because he thinks he can. You know, girls that you know absolutely can will go, I can't. Any other questions on the whole female athlete thing? And then we can slide over and talk about anything other in the hoop role.
I have a question. Usually in practice you have a few girls that always volunteer to demonstrate. Do you make an effort to put other girls on the spot and demonstrate, or that will discourage them and they'll get traumatized like you?
Yeah, it's a fine line. I think once you've built rapport, and I think you've built rapport, because there will be some girls that really, and some athletes, some people that really don't like to be the demonstrator. But I think it's really important for their own development to have them demonstrate, and early on maybe have them demonstrate in a group thing, so they're not just doing a demonstration of shooting technique if they're all nervous about it, but have them demonstrate with a pair or demonstrate something so that there's a comfort factor. So yeah, absolutely, because I think it's an important part of their own personal development. And the ones that always want to do it, it's like, no, you can, you know, we always see you. I need to extract that out of the other players. It's really important for their skills outside of basketball, to learn how to, you know, be comfortable in the work environment to speak. I think that's really, really good. And for other people to see that, you know, she might be a timid person, but she's actually got the skills that you want to show, you know, or find ways to highlight her in other ways. So rather than have her demonstrate, while they're doing a drill, go, stop! And word her up, you know, I call it coach whispering, before you stop the drill, just walk past and go, hey, Charlie, can you, that was amazing the way you shot that. I'm going to get you to show it in a second. So just warm her up to it, or not, or just say, Charlie, I'm going to just, that was awesome, I'm going to get you to show everybody. So that you're not saying, right now, Charlie, you're on the spot. She's at it, well, stop, fantastic, watch, score. Charlie, I want you to just show us exactly how you were doing that pull-up jump shot then, because you made 7 out of 10, it's awesome. And how to do it. So she's already been doing it, she's been doing it well, you've alerted her that she's been doing it well, and now we're going to see how good it is. So rather, you know, there's ways you can sort of soften the blow, if you will. She doesn't like to be in the limelight, that you can do it in a manner that you're just leading her into that demonstrating space.
I've, for the last few years, followed UConn and they've been a successful college team. Why do you think Gino is such a successful coach, other than having probably really good capital on him?
Yeah, look, I think he's, just trying to think how yeah, look, there's no question. You know, he's built the program to the point where the best athletes want to come there. You know, and I think it's interesting, you know, I've been fortunate to coach talented teams and then coach teams on paper that are less talented. Coach talented teams that you think should get more than 3 wins, and coach teams that people go, oh, yeah, they'll make the playoffs, but I don't think they'll win a championship, and have won it. So I think, you know, when people go, oh yeah, they've got the cattle, they can win. You know, you see it often. Just having the cattle doesn't mean you're going to get it done. In fact, to me, it presents different challenges. You know, with talent there comes a lot of other things, lots of other things. And then it's, you know, managing all that talent together is the skill. And I think Gino has, you know, Gino sets a high bar. I guess he's evolved his coaching to a point where, and he doesn't have to motivate. I mean, he's a pretty hard driver, but I think he's got a belief in how the game should be played, and he's really strong and strict on that. You know, he's about, you know, pressure defense and, you know, I think the fact that he's built the program and he selects or deselects he's pretty harsh on, you know, if someone then comes into his program that isn't part of the UConn thing, you know, you'll see often, you know, every few years there's an athlete that self-selects out. You know, that it's not for them, that his style, you know, it's direct, it's in your face, it's that. That's not fit for all, but he's had major success. I mean, I've, you know, coached against Gino, but when you're coaching someone, you don't get to see their practices, and I've coached, you know, quite a few of his former athletes in the WNBA and coached against a lot of them, Team USA is half Team Yukon. But they also speak highly of him. They have big respect for him as a coach. A lot of them go back and train with Yukon in summer or when they're back from Europe. A lot of them go back and train there. So, that speaks to his connect and rapport with the athletes, that they stay connected to their university.
I know you're talking about being physical, and you watch the DVDs of his training sessions. He's got 5 or 6 guys who play on against their best players, and it's very physical. Is that all the way down the college system, or is that just the better teams?
Generally the better teams, but most of the female teams will get guys to come in and scrimmage. That's just takes you to another level. They're quicker, they're stronger. The games at a high pace. So, but the top women's schools generally have their team, their practice team is a bunch of equipment managing men.
I have another question. What are your thoughts regarding discipline or punishment during practice?
I think you've got to coach in your own style, but in terms of if someone's misbehaving or if they're not doing
Misbehaving, talking, not serious, not doing the drill, affecting others, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like you would just like a classroom, it's the same. It's about everyone learning, us trying to get better as a group. So and I think you have to establish the way you operate as a coach, straight up. These are the expectations, this is how we go, when I'm talking, not talking, you're holding them up, setting all those standards, and calling them out, stop! I think other girls don't mind. Okay. Abby, you're talking while we're trying to do this drill. I need you to listen and focus. It's affecting everybody else. Go and have a quiet corner if you want, tell them to go sit down, managing their behaviour is a big part of getting effective practice so it can move on so everyone's learning. Otherwise, you've got them all over the shop. But I think, you've got to set from the start. These are the rules, this is how we go, and be consistent on pulling the behaviour up. And then they're trained in how to operate. But yeah, absolutely.
So regarding consequences, you will sit them down or call them?
I'd call them out first. I wouldn't go, and again, it depends on your coaching style and how you operate. I'm not a believer in running lines and doing those things. But if you need to go to other extremes to get the behaviour one, then sometimes you have to. I think it comes back to what we said before. Those sort of things drive girls away from sport. So running lines or having punishments like that, no. I think often with girls, calling them out and highlighting behaviour is enough that they go, oh, I've stepped out of line. And being really firm on it. We're not having that here. And then hopefully, if it's the culture of the team with other girls go, shh. They'll pull up because they know the rules. They're telling you the rules. What you guys what works at your level these days? I haven't coached under 12s for a season for about 25 years or more, 30.
We had a perfect example. We did make them run. Very simple instruction: touch the middle. First 2 players, second players didn't touch the middle.
Yeah.
The second time they ran and didn't do it again. Haven't done it since.
So you can do it as a burst. If you happen to do that every time, you've got to make
doesn't become effective.
Yeah.
I run it more as a consequence. So it's something in a drill, we're focusing on boxing out, they won't box out, there's a consequence every time you don't do it. So it's not, I don't word it as a punishment.
Yeah.
If they're misbehaving and mucking around, call it out first, then same as you, I don't like running penalties, because it's not a penalty for them. They run all the time, they don't care. But showing that it has a consequence if you don't do your team behaviour.
So if it's a competitive drill, you can take a point off. Block out -1. If competitiveness is a driver in your program, so they like to win the games, that they point off, didn't block out, or you didn't follow, didn't get a foot in the middle on our round 2 continuous drill, whatever it might be. So extracting points, and having them, the power of the group going, that's not what we do. If you can build your group that way, that they know the rules and that they'll self-manage how things operate.
Running wind sprints is detrimental to time efficiency.
Yeah.
You're using up practice time.
Yeah.
Doing something, I'm not the man that don't penalise something, but there's ways to penalise. One push-up's a penalty.
Yeah.
It's not physically demanding, but it's a penalty.
Yeah.
And if you've got to do it in front of your teammates, everyone knows. And now you can move straight back into what you've got to do. But if they're going up and down for 30 seconds, 10 times,
The core work, It's really, really effective. Planks, V6, all that sort of stuff. Because they're a girl, not in my team anyway, they don't have core strength and they hate it and they have to concentrate.
Yeah.
And that focuses them back in. As if they're running, they just run, they don't care. But you guys want to hold a plank for a minute and they care by the end of that minute.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, something that then there's benefit in, not chewing up your practice time.
Just go back to the Gino thing. There's one thing, one trait that I think about Gino is that, and I've seen this, a lot of great coaches you'll know do this. They know how to tell you your time's up. When you talk about deselecting, Clarkson just did it with some guys at Hawthorn. Sheedy used to do it at Estimate. When your time's up, no matter how good you were, they'll move you up. And good coaches have that as a skill or a trait in their behaviour. And I think that's the Gino thing. He moves me on. We had a New Zealand girl out there, Jessica McCormick, who just didn't cut it. Was there for a year. Go back to New Zealand, not going to make it. And so I think that was the thing you were talking about before. You've got to be able to be honest with people if you're going to be a coach. So you've got to tell them when it's all over as well as when it's going in. And that's a skill that you just have to develop.
Yeah. I think the other thing, the US system, college system is interesting that you have a natural turnover of athletes. So you're constantly, you see their coaches are in jobs for a long time because they've got, every year, their seniors are moving on, they've got a new freshman class. So there's, you have athletes, one particular athlete for 4 years, but there's trickle on through that thing. So that sort of forces you to keep fresh and keep on it because you've got newness around you. But and he built that program. It was a nothing program before he came. He's a powerful speaker. He can get buy-in and build rapport. So I think that helps when you're then trying to get people on the same page because he's got them all believing that Gino's he's speaking gospel and that they've got the right Bible.
I got a question for Carrie, Graf. Might close our session. Are we going to see Carrie Graf stalking the sidelines in the future?
Yeah, look, I haven't. I mean, it's been interesting for me. The Canberra media, people go, "Oh, you've retired." It's like, no, I haven't retired from coaching. I'm certainly. I don't think I'm finished coaching. What form that takes in the future, but for me, it was about. Well, on the back of that season, I'm sure I would have kept my job anyway. But it was, got 3.5-year-old twins. Post-Olympics, my dad passed away, so for me it was about, I'd done basketball since I was this big, I'd been coaching since I was 25, I'm nearly 50. So for me it was about the timing for me to put all of that into doing something well. I didn't feel I had, and I did feel burnt out. I couldn't find the answers in that last season, like wow, So no, I'd like to coach again. I still think I've got something left in me at the elite level, but at the moment enjoying doing some basketball consulting down here in Melbourne, doing some of this, working with kids, or working with 10-year-olds, 13, 14-year-olds, really inspiring in another way. It's nice to be removed from the high-end ego work that's required in life, as you know. So that's refreshing. I've got really thankful athletes and thankful parents, and they're paying you to do it. So it's kind of, it's nice. And I think you need time to recharge sometimes too. When you've been doing something for a long time, you need to step out to be able to review and reflect and be recharged to do something else. So, and I want to try some things that are outside the sports space with it. But when I say I'm under 50, I go, wow, I started my coaching when most people had 10 years left playing. So I've sort of, where a lot of people, Sandy Rondell is on the start of that journey, I'm sort of kind of at the other end. But, so to answer your question, though, Mike, I would, I enjoy coaching the WNBL and coaching the Opals, but family for me first. Once the little ones are at school and hooping themselves, then jump back in.
So Tom's put his name out there again for the Opals. Would that be a consideration for you?
Timing's not right for me. I mean, I'd really like to coach the Opals again. I think any time you do something, I think second time round, it's just very good. It's like coaching your first championship. The second time, it's like, oh, this is how you do it. But the timing for me on this thing, it's just not time. I couldn't see myself doing that doing the travel and the work required at that area and head coach at that level. So no. So fingers crossed that the man Tommy Mark is back in that chair.
You know,
What about you?
I'm like you, mate. I'm enjoying what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
It's too demanding, too much travel, too much time.
Yeah.
I'd like to live down the beach and come up here a couple of days a week.
Yeah. Like to do these things. Any burning last questions?
Well, Carrie, thanks very much for coming in. I'm sure we'll try and get you back again, maybe to do some stuff on the court or something like that.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. And,
Get me one of your girls' teams and I'll give you my version of how I'd work with them. Could be interesting for me to tell like, oh, that doesn't work. Works with women, doesn't work with girls.
but we really value your contribution to what we're trying to do here. And thanks very much. And we'll definitely be back at some stage.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, folks. And again, apologies I was late. Well, I was fashionably in the middle time. Perfectly at 9.